Hello everybody, my name is Admiral Productions and welcome to my video review of the AMC TV show Breaking Bad. Um, right, well, I mean, there's not really any point stalling it. There's no real need to set this up. I'm just going to go through and give you my thoughts on the TV show. For a bit of context, when I went to Breaking Bad, I go to any TV show with an open mind. I never go into a TV show or a movie or anything really with high hopes. I try to keep everything, normal. You know, I just go into it with a completely fresh mind. I don't want to go with any spoilers. I don't want to go in and people are telling me that this is the best thing that ever happened to sliced bread. I just want to go into it, watch the TV show, and then form my own opinion from that afterwards. The only thing about Breaking Bad, with spoilers from this point onwards, by the way, that I had spoiled for me was the fact that Walter died at the end of season 5. That is the only thing that had spoiled for me, and I guess it was sort of inevitability, but I don't know. I'm not sure if my perception of the show has ever changed based on knowing that Walter would die, but considering all the different characters that sort of revolved around Walter and his meth business, I never really did know. But I guess enough of that. I'm just going to jump straight into season 1. And I'm going to start off with a very bold claim that season 1 and quite possibly season 2 are my favorite seasons of the show. I know that a lot of people tell me that the show gets better as it goes along. I know that season 1 and season 2 are supposed to be like the good starting on points. You know, it's not great, but it's not terrible either. And then season 3 gets better, season 4 gets a lot better, season 5 is meant to be like absolute GOAT. I went into season 1 and I really enjoyed it. I thought that it balanced the story, its characters really well. I really like how you could watch the show in a serialized format, how you could go from episode 1 to 2 to 3, and it feels like a complete story, rather than it taking an episodic format. I guess in the age of, obviously binging television, it makes sense that, you'll be able to watch that show. I mean, it is, of course, as well, made back in the late 2000s. I don't even think Netflix was really a thing then. It might have been a thing, but it wasn't a very big thing. So to create a show like that as early as late 2000s, it was, I think it worked really well because I was able to binge watch all of it as a stand without feeling like, it didn't really serve the story. It didn't take the sitcom approach. What I mean is that, when they reference something, it's very forced. It's very unnatural, rather as a Breaking Bad, because it's one long continuous story. They could play with that a little bit more, and I really like that approach versus the sitcom formula. Season 1 and season... no, just taking season 1. Season 1 really felt like the more complete version of Walter and Jesse. They felt more like well-rounded and well-written characters in this one, in the first season. Maybe even season 2, than they did in the rest of the show. But I will get to that later. I guess on the whole, I just really like season 1. I thought it really went into different places. I like what it did with its characters. And while I don't really like the direction that the show went afterwards, I'm just really glad that we got a season like this. And we got a lot of great stuff from it. I mean, there's stuff that still gets talked about to this day, like like Jesse and the bathtub melting the cousin, and then the cousin gets melted through the floor, and then his cousin that's still alive can see him melting through the floor. It's messed up at so many levels, but it's so funny. And it's, I don't know, it felt like even though it was a season that was still trying to find its own feet, it also paradoxically at the same time felt like the most complete season. And that is a statement I am going to stick with. And because that season 1 is the best to talk about, I'm just going to go ahead and start tearing shreds into into the next few seasons. Season 2 is filled to the brim with filler, and by God, I do not mean that lightly. It is so packed to the brim with filler that it is not even a joke. I did not care for the Jesse and Jane subplot. I do not care about anything that goes on between those two. I did not believe the relationship. I think it felt very forced. Everybody harps on about their relationship. I could not care less. I could not even care less when she died. It would just, don't care. I did have problems with other sort of mediums that try to do that, but I'll get into that in another video. That'll be a video topic for another discussion, actually, and I'll actually add that in my little to-do list. Here we go. Video ideas. How relationships can make and break a concept. How relationships can make and break everything. How about fiction? Can make and break fiction. There we go. Coming soon to a shitty YouTube channel near you. Season 2 is just marked with so much filler. Once again, I really did like the direction that the story went into with this one. And it felt like, once again, a natural evolution of the story from one to another. But I just could not care less for the filler in this, particularly between Walter and Skylar and Jane and Jesse. I could not care less for half the stuff that went down in this season. And I didn't even realize it at the time either, and I only realized this as I was, I think, making my way through season 4 or season 5. But the show just flat out drops certain story arcs for no reason. In the first 2 seasons, Walter literally bombs a building with some custom-made explosives. In a post 9/11 world, a building being bombed like this would not be treated as lightly as it did in the show. Walter literally bombed a 3-story building, the top floor, and it just never gets brought up again. It just gets dropped completely. Another one was how in the first season, the gas mask that they used to found in the first season, related to the meth lab, it brings it back to the school in a very natural way. And then one episode, it just gets dropped and it's never brought back up again. And this for me is one of the reasons why I could not get into Breaking Bad. It's its plot holes. And I know I can look past plot holes in any sort of medium or genre. I can look past them usually. But it really highlighted to me that the writers could not care less about this show, and that they're only keeping it going because of the pulse that they had on it. The show by season 3, season 4 was winning like award after award for all different types of drama related content. And I could not honestly tell you why. I have seen better shows released around the same time that deserved infinitely more praise of what Breaking Bad was getting at the time. But I'll get into that later. I'll get into tearing into the show later. I know it's a very controversial opinion, especially with how highly regarded the show is nowadays. But I promise you, I will tear into the show later. Season 2, I still like it. It was definitely not as strong as season 1. And I think that is definitely owing to the amount of filler that it had within its 13 episodes. Season 1 felt like a more complete story because, yes, it only had 7 episodes, but I felt like you got more out of the story than anything because you just didn't have that wasted time. It told that complete story, and you could almost have left it at Season 1, except for the fact that, of course, they needed to continue it because, money. Season 2, it was like, okay, we're going to use that same 7-episode formula, and they're like, but we have 13 episodes to fill. They're like, exactly. And then they just never figured out how to confidently or even what's the other word? Confidently or usefully use that time to expand the story. Instead, we got so much relationship crap that I did not care. Yes, the events of this season would shape and change the show massively as Breaking Bad continued. But once again, I could not care less. I don't believe the relationships. The only one I believe is Walter White's family. And that is it. But even then, I did not care for the endless back and forth between Skylar and Walter. There is so much of it. There is so much filler. It made me so angry. This show is almost saved by what happens at the end of Season 2. When it is revealed that because Walter let Jane die, it incidentally caused an airplane disaster known as the Albuquerque airline disaster. And I thought that for a TV show like this, it was a cool concept. I will give the show credit for that. It was a cool concept, but I wish they played around with it a lot more. All I got was maybe a few silent references, particularly the ribbons, for those who died, and that was it. I can't honestly, for the life of me, remember if any of the future episodes get incredibly influenced by the fact that 2 planes collided over an Albuquerque town. No, New Mexico. Okay, you know what? 2 airplanes collided with one another above a city. And then it just never gets brought back up again in a big way. Yes, you have Saul's airline commercial, which I still think is one of the funniest things ever in human history. Yes, you do have the eyeball from the teddy bear. Yes, you do have the ribbons. But what purpose did it serve? It almost felt as though the writers did it for the stunt. Oh wow, 2 airplanes crashed. How's this going to affect the future Breaking Bad? Not at all. And as we head into Season 3, it only doubled down this nonsense of writers just doing stuff for the sake of it, and the story just, the story. Okay. I'll finish going through the seasons, and then I'll tear the show a new one. I'm just so excited to tear the show a new one, you have no idea. Season 3 continued Season 2. Season 2 was worse than Season 2. Sorry, Season 2 was worse than Season 1, and Season 3 is about on par with Season 2. Once again, the amount of filler in this fucking season made me want to do my head in. I cannot honestly remember for the life of me what happened at the end of... what happened at the beginning of Season 3. All I knew was that Gus was starting to get introduced around this time. Tuco was dead. And then that's it. Season 3 just marks, once again, a show that is meant to be on the slope up, but it just really felt like a continuation of Season 2. Skylar and White have more relationship drama. Jesse refuses to cook with Mr. Walt for the upteenth time. It's just more of the same that we've seen before. Nothing really changes in Season 3. Season 4, and once again, the show is meant to get markedly better, but I did not see it. I was not shocked when Gus died at the end of Season 4. I was not shocked when anything happened in Season 4. Yes, I did feel tense in some scenes, but I knew that some characters weren't going to die because the show had turned from this nice little mini-series into a formulaic TV show. Whoa, you're really telling me that the two main characters, Jesse and Walter, aren't going to die? That's crazy. I can't shut my brain off for 5 seconds without thinking that the writers are just gonna continually blue ball us for yet another season that has not only the same amount of episodes, but more episodes with even more filler. Season 4 is meant to represent the penultimate season of the show, in which the show finally reaches its new grounds. Once again, it continues the story, but this time, you know, Walter and Jesse are the bitches of Gus. And I do like Gus. Gus is an okay character, but Saul Goodman, I think, really takes the show for me. Saul Goodman is my favorite character for Breaking Bad, and I will have no one slander me otherwise. Every scene he is in, the show gets infinitely better for me, and nobody can take that away from me. Until I watch Better Call Saul, and I will see if they do take it away from me, but we'll get to that I'll get to that bridge when we burn it. At the end of season 4, when they finally kill Gus, I did not feel anything. I did not feel any praise, I did not feel any cheers. Once again, it was just the show constantly blue balling us with this promise that something big was going to happen, and then when it did happen, it happened in the most formulaic, most uninteresting way. I just couldn't. Season 5 is meant to be one of the greatest seasons of television ever produced, and I cannot see why. Season 5, for me, will go down as not only one of the most overrated seasons of all time, but the season when my interest of Breaking Bad just came to a grinding halt. Once again, I could not care anything less that happened in season 5. I knew that no matter what happened, it would just... characters would die off in different ways, and then that's it. And the only one that really surprised me this season was Mike, and how they killed Mike off in the most sloppy, unsatisfying way ever. Because the writers couldn't commit. Instead, they had to blue ball us once again for another entire season. And then we get to one of the most unsatisfying endings in history. I could not have cared less for the finale. The way that Walter got Jesse out of the hideout at the end did not make sense to me. Yes, I can reasonably believe that a chemistry teacher can make batteries using items that he could find in an RV. I can even accept the fact that he might be able to make explosives using simple homemade items. I cannot believe that Walter can rig a fully automatic machine gun in the back of his car to open, and to shoot at the same time he does as he presses the button. And not only is it in the ground, and when he gets shot by a bullet that literally cannot hit him in the way that is portrayed in the film, but it is just that ending is just so badly written. He leans up against a pool table and the controller is on the pool table. There's a room full of people who just happen to not be looking at Walter so that he can get the button and press it at the time that he needs to in front of everyone. And then he jumps on top of Jesse to protect him, to shield him, and then he gets shot with a bullet that literally cannot land on him the way that he did. And if it is portrayed another way in the show, it is completely illogical and unreasonable. I did not believe the way that they killed Walter at the end of the show. It was so unsatisfying. It was not worth the payoff. Having to sit through literally dozens upon hours upon episodes for that. It was all blue balling, no payoff. Not once did I think any of the real main characters were in any danger. Not once did I feel like that, you know, the major events that had happened paid off. Two planes literally crashed into each other in the season 2 finale, and it just gets played off in the show like something like this just happens every day in the United States. Walter, in I think the season 3 penultimate episode, runs over and kills 2 of Gus's henchmen. Nothing happens. They just get let go. And then that's it. I just cannot with Breaking Bad. It is the show that receives so much praise. It's a show that receives so many accolades and so much praise. It did not deserve any of it. Any of it at all. Right, now I get to tell this show a new one, as if I haven't already. I was bored. I was perpetually bored with this show, thinking that at some point it must get better. It needs to get better. This show has, I believe, a 9.2 on IMDb. No, even worse. It has a 9.5. This show has a 9.5. Actually, that's another thing that it reminded me of. You know what? I'm not even going to go into it, but it was going to be when they killed off Hank and Hank's co-worker. They left it on a cliffhanger in one episode, and then when they brought it back, they showed that his co-worker had died. I forgot his name. It was the Mexican, and Hank was shot. That was it. Yep. Thanks guys for watching. That absolutely wasn't a middle finger at all. You're telling me that they shot how many bullets in that episode? Not one of them hit. I just could not. Okay, I already made the point that I could not take the show seriously because it could not take its characters seriously. And I think that's probably one of the other biggest points towards Breaking Bad, is that it did not know if it wanted to be a serious comedy or a serious drama. And many points that the show, I think it did not decide whether to go in one direction or the other. If it wanted to be this super cool and, you know, like cool guys don't look at explosions type of thing, where it takes its character super seriously. And in another moment, Jesse is asking Walter to go go-karting, and is played off as this really playful, funny moment. Yeah. I just cannot with Breaking Bad. I still do not know how or why this show has a 9.5 on IMDb when it is probably closer to a 5 than anything else. I just could not with this show, man. It tried so hard to be the super serious consequences and actions TV show when it could not even commit to basic story arcs. I could not believe that any of the characters were in any serious danger when I know that at the flick of a writer's pen, they could undo it or unmake it or just forget it, because it is too hard to write a TV show to go for 5 seasons, 13 episodes a season, without the writers just completely tearing their hair out trying to figure out how to get it to work. That is not the hallmark of a show with great writers. That is the hallmark of a show that has no idea what to do with its characters or its story. I do not like this show because it is boring. I do not think it is the worst thing ever out there. However, I genuinely struggle to understand why this game just has the praise it does. It does not deserve any of it. It seriously does not. It maybe if you can switch your brain off, maybe if you're one of those people who just sit down and just not think about any of the plot holes, about anything that went wrong to the show, then that's fine. But I can't. For me, that just broke the show in so many ways for me, that when it came to take the show seriously, season 5, it was like, why should I care when the writers could just invent something to get Walter out of the problem, and they could just invent something to get Jesse out of the problem. After this, I'm going to watch El Camino, and I'm going to watch Better Call Saul, and I'm going to hope that both are better than Breaking Bad. I'm not expecting El Camino to be better than Breaking Bad, to be 100% honest, but I am... It's Better Call Saul, right? It's got Saul in it, how can it not be better than Breaking Bad? Anyway, that's me riffing on Breaking Bad for almost half an hour. All set up, no payoff. That is what I'll ultimately leave with you, dear viewer. If I had to give it a rating, maybe 4.5, a 5 out, maybe 5.5 out of 10. As I settle with a 5, that's it. I'm done. I'm never watching this godforsaken show ever again.